Marijuana in some form is legal in 30 states and Washington, D.C., but it's still outlawed by the federal government. So that's causing problems with Canada, where marijuana is completely legal. Some Canadians who cross the border in places like Washington state are now being kicked out of the U.S. As John Blackstone reports, they're not smoking pot, they're investing in it.
More than 30,000 people cross the U.S.-Canadian border here in Blaine, Washington every day. For most travelers, it's a trouble-free experience. But for some Canadian business people, that seems to be changing.
It doesn't look like I'll be entering your country for, well, maybe never, and certainly not for a long time.
Banned for life.
Banned for life.
Sam Znaimer is a Vancouver, Canada-based venture capitalist who's been investing in everything from tech to telecoms for over 30 years. Recently, he put a few $100,000 into legal American cannabis companies. In May, when he attempted to drive across the border, he was flagged for secondary inspection and questioned for 4 hours.
To my shock and horror, I was told that I was deemed to be inadmissible to the United States because I was assisting and abetting in the illicit trafficking of drugs. They never asked whether I'd consumed marijuana. The only thing that they're interested in is that I've been an investor in U.S.-based cannabis companies.
What's it like to be banned for life from the United States?
I was shocked. I couldn't believe that anyone as peripherally involved with these companies as an investor could possibly deem to be assisting and abetting. It is a huge regulatory overreach.
Not only are they shocked, they're scared.
American immigration attorney Len Saunders says he's seen at least a dozen cases like this in the past few months at this land crossing, as well as at airports in Vancouver and Edmonton. In the prior 15 years that he's practiced law on the border, he'd never seen one.
You're being barred because you're getting paid through drug money, even though it's marijuana. It might as well be cocaine or heroin. These are not people who have criminal convictions. These are not people who are terrorists or a threat to the United States.
The new recreational cannabis regime will officially come into force on October 17th of this year.
In June, Canada became only the second country in the world to legalize recreational marijuana nationwide. It's also home to one of the only securities exchanges on the planet where people can buy stock in American pot companies. Analysts estimate 44% of the $5.7 billion invested in legal cannabis around the world come here to Canada.
Canada has matured as a market with better regulation, faster and earlier.
Giadha Aguirre de Carcer analyzes cannabis industry data, and she fears that Canadian investors will be scared away from putting their money in the American market.
It could have a very damaging effect to legal cannabis businesses in the United States, and it could do so to the point of crippling the market.
What does this do to the relations between Canadian investors and the United States?
I think this was intended to provide a huge chill on business travel into the United States. And I can say for myself, it's been hugely effective.
The U.S. Department of Customs and Border Protection didn't respond when asked if these actions are part of a new border enforcement policy. Instead, it notes that marijuana remains federally prohibited in the United States and that its officers are thoroughly trained on admissibility factors and that their determinations are made on a case-by-case basis based on the facts and circumstances known to the officer at the time.
I was helping create jobs in the U.S.
But that's little comfort to Sam Znaimer, although he may be able to get a costly and temporary waiver to his ban sometime in the future. For now, he's unable to cross the world's longest international border, possibly for the rest of his life. For CBS This Morning, John Blackstone, Vancouver, Canada.
Now, the impact on Canadian business people is dramatic, but Americans who travel overseas and return to the U.S. are not affected because by law, American citizens cannot be stopped from returning home. Very interesting controversy over there.
Yeah.